Hey everyone, welcome to GTM Secrets. Stephen Lowisz here. We talk about everything go-to-market, sales, marketing, RevOps, product marketing, analytics, you name it. Probably had somebody on talking about it. Today I have on actually a good friend of mine now. I don't even know how we got connected, Noah. I think it was LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually your co-founder made the intro. I think Jack did, but Noah's interesting. We're both super early stage startups. I wanted to mix it up. A lot of the people we have on here, while awesome, they are executives, Fortune executives, mid-market execs, etc. Want to go into why startup culture sucks so much. Noah, start out if you don't mind. Give a little bit of background on yourself, man.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my name is Noah. I graduated from the University of Michigan Business School in December 2023. I had started a finance business during college, ran that for a bit, left that and started doing sales, a lot of prospecting, account research, and started Bird Dog midway through 2024. And that's what I've been focusing on ever since. Really love it. It's helping account executives and sales reps figure out which accounts to focus on and does a lot of really cool qualitative research.
Did you start in sales or dev? Because I know you're the hands-on dev at Bird Dog.
I actually started in finance.
What?
Yeah, crazy, right?
I'd rather go down my favorite water slide called the Suey slide.
The Sui slide. I don't think I've been down that one, but maybe
That's what I
spiritually.
think of finance, man. So how'd you go from finance to sales to dev, or what was the order?
Oh my God. Yeah. So finance in college, I thought it was a great idea to manage money. I'm like, wow, that would be a very asymmetric business model because I was already doing a lot of trading. And it's like, if you increase the AUM, then you just in the assets you're managing, then you just increase the actual revenue without increasing the work. I was a bit wrong about the not increasing the work part, but I actually started learning a bit of math and development when I was doing that, because I was very interested in options pricing, and those things go together. And that also taught me a bit about sales and obviously raising capital and all that fun stuff. The reason, though, I ended up in sales was because as I was doing the finance thing, we were building out a tool to monitor publicly traded equities. And I was having a blast doing that. That was a lot of fun. But the catch is,
nerdy.
yeah, I am nerdy. Stephen, the catch is nobody wanted to buy it. We were on the phone with one of the users who was like our best user. And it was actually Jack who was on the phone with him. And he's like, dude, I'll pay $10 a month right now. And the guy's like, no. Pay $5 a month right now. And the dude's like, no. He's like, what about $1 a month? And the guy's like, no. Jack's like, bro, we need to pivot. We just
All right.
so concurrently, Stephen, we had a salesperson using the tool for companies he sold to that happened to be publicly traded. And he's like, this is great. So that was kind of the cue that's like, let's go into sales. So we did tons of customer discovery, tons of talking, and started building in that direction instead. And I mean, doing a startup, you kind of just have to learn everything, including how to sell things and being able to work with salespeople who are just so good, because we were fortunate enough to be able to work with some to build out kind of the first iterations of the solution. I learned quite a bit pretty quickly, which is great.
Got it. Did you and Jack meet at U of M?
We did. Yeah. Yep.
Got it. I'm very technical for a marketer. However, I remember I went to college for 3 semesters, 2 at Eastern Michigan.
Cool.
that was my first foray into Upwork, because I found this marketplace where I could find a JavaScript developer to do my work for me.
We love that. Yeah. That's great.
ChatGPT wasn't around, otherwise I would have used it. But
Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, when you started Bird Dog, how long ago was it? You said mid 24?
Mid 24. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you did the opposite of me, which is smarter. The first version of Identity Matrix was going to be the #1 mobile provider, like to find somebody's cell phone.
Got you.
And it was the ugliest freaking thing in the world. It was just one little text box for a LinkedIn or an email.
Yeah.
And then it would spit out a phone number. The problem is I didn't have the data sources to even do it well. And then, $300,000 of my own money later, $350,000, and a 75% pay cut, we figured out, Identity Matrix can de-anonymize and whatnot.
Yeah.
How many people did you interview? What was their feedback? Like, how'd you eventually come to this end product?
Man, oh man. So we actually started the interviews in like late 2023, early 2024, because we had done it more as like a sort of consulting, like service business then. And for that first round, man, we probably did in a month, like 150 salespeople, a month and a half, 150 salespeople, which was crazy. So we learned a lot fast and kind of honed in on this thing that everybody was asking for, but nobody seemed to have, which was simply good research on their accounts. And you get all of these weird solutions for it where it's, oh, let's slap an agent on it and do like the first page of Google research, or let's do, did somebody at Microsoft search for a CRM? Like the salespeople selling a CRM don't care.
I hope not. They have dynamics, but I get your point.
Yeah, that's a terrible example. But yeah, I mean, just in general, like we were seeing a lot of people asking for the same thing and not an obvious solution to it. So we started playing around with it and, validating it by getting people to pay for different solutions and testing it out. And then, by mid 2024, we had a pretty good idea that this is something people wanted to pay for.
So everyone talks about personalization, and I think most personalization is BS.
Yeah.
Couple of merge tags mentioning, hey, I saw you went to U of M. No one cares, and we all know it's automated.
Yeah.
And Clay I'm actually a fan of Clay, but Clay makes that even worse. If I have all this info, and my understanding is you look up 10Ks on public companies, you look up news, etc. What do I do with it if I'm a sales rep?
Yeah, so you do a few things with it. Thing one is you actually prioritize your accounts because we're searching this qualitative information across your entire account list, and we're getting it consistently enough that you can stack rank your accounts and say, okay, not only is this account hiring, but they also had a funding round, they have an executive talking about growth, and you just get all of these signs kind of lined up. And that's step one, is you have that ranking list. And then from there, you look for these tokens to actually use in your outreach that not only increases the response rate, but also, we're overall increasing the probability of this being a sales qualified lead.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, sure. If you're selling to a sales team, one thing we found was an ARR target at the end of the year for the company as a whole. They had a $100 million ARR target, and that's a perfect thing to reach out to with that. Or if you're selling cybersecurity, maybe we find a company got hacked and maybe we find they have SOC 2. So you have some background information where it's kind of the stuff that you might want to do on that first customer discovery call, but we're trying to pull as much of that up as possible. Obviously, Stephen, we can't qualify them for you. You need to do that, but it's helping you get all that stuff that points in that direction. So you have a much better bet. An AI consultant we're working with gets to see whenever one of their prospects buys a company that does AI.
ABM is the hot thing, and I like ABM done right, and it sounds like that's where you're trying to go.
Totally.
I think a lot of people look at ABM as let me blast 15 people at a company with the same message and hope that one of them responds. I like what you're doing now. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, and this is going to turn into a pitch for you unprompted. Yeah. You're not paying me. What does Bird Dog do that Clay can't, or some of these other AI tools?
So many things. So first thing I'm going to point out is most of the other AI tools, the sources that they default take in are really just going to be like first page of Google search results. That's the first thing. Bird Dog is as a default reading over the company website, reading over 13 million news articles every quarter, taking in company LinkedIn posts, taking in SEC filings if they're public, employee LinkedIn posts, and it's looking over all that information. If you wanted to do that on your account list of even 100 accounts, 300 accounts, you would not simply be able to sort through all that information. And to get one of these other tools to do it, Apollo Power Apps can't do it. Clay, you would probably need to hire an engineer to figure out how to do it.
You saw my post, by the way. You know how I feel about Apollo.
Oh, I know. You saw my post about Apollo too. You also know how I feel about Apollo.
The CTO actually reached out to me, and I still use them for a little bit of data, but then I go double enrich it. But I think you're an idiot if you use it for outreach. It is horrible.
I haven't heard a person who likes it. And that's kind of like a fall of the Roman Empire story, right? Where we overreach and try to do everything at once or something,
Sensei, and I'm not endorsing them. I'm sure there's other great tools, but when I switched from Apollo to Smart Lead, my open rates and both my open rates and click-through rates doubled and quadrupled.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Where's your referral code?
I should get one.
You should.
I'll tag them in the LinkedIn post I put up. But
yeah.
So I like what you're doing now. Everyone wants to say entrepreneurship and being a founder is really hard. And it is. It's brutal. It sucks. I hate it. I put up a post the other day. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, not even my ex-wife, and that says a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think many people describe, like, they'll look back and say, hey, here's what I went through, but no one wants to actually say, like, here's the shit I go through every day. What does a day look like at Bird Dog for you?
Okay. So I'll give you like a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday, because on Wednesdays, I typically try not to take meetings so I can focus on development and any writing I need to do for like marketing or whatever. And also I do that on Saturdays and Sundays too. So there's that. It's, 7 days a week.
7 days.
Starters, right? I'll usually take Sunday mornings off, but 7 days a week for the most part. Let's see. I'll give you yesterday. Yesterday, I woke up, I think 7 a.m. I started coding a little bit, just debugging for the first few hours. I try to do that for the first 2-3 hours of the day before I have meetings. And then, but you notice something broke and you're like, oh, I'm the only one who's going to fix it. So you better fix it.
It's just you and Jack, right?
It's just me and Jack. Yeah. And I'm the developer. So I have to go through and fix that stuff. And then, I had a 10 a.m. that was a no-show, which sucked because Stephen, we saved this guy 7.5 hours in 1 week on his research. And then he no-showed. I email him and he says, hey, boss told me we're not going to get it. I'm like, why? And the feedback I got was it's not ready for prime time, whatever that means, which isn't very, very useful.
No.
So I ended up trying to call that guy on cell, but he didn't answer. And again, the reason I'm saying all this is just to give like the brutal nature of it. And then, get into a few different calls. It's a little tough when you have like, a call and you're also trying to code at the same time. So that's why I really set aside Wednesdays. But, then I was in calls from pretty much that 10 a.m. no-show up until I think 5 p.m., just on and off, breaks here and there, whatever. But different sales calls, prospecting calls, all that fun stuff. Then after that, ate dinner, did nothing for about an hour, and then got back on at around 7 or 7:30 and coded a little bit more, talked to Jack, caught up with how all the calls went for the day, identified a couple problems we were having with users and figuring out how can we build out our product so that we preempt that objection we keep getting. And then I stopped at about 10. That was pretty much the day.
You and I are opposite, especially because I have kids. So like Monday, I was up at 4 working.
Whoa.
Great. Stopped at like 6, spent some time with my kids, and then I just crash. But I'm definitely a morning not 4, that's middle of the night, but I'm definitely morning overnight. If you had to guess, how many hours a week do you work?
Oh, God. Well, I don't know. I probably work 10 to 12 hours each weekday, then probably like, 6 or 8 hours on the weekend. So that's what?
70 to 75, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think so. So still less than a banker, which is nice.
That's true. So I want to really dive into the weeds, and I'll bring this full circle in a second. You guys are a private LLC. You don't have investors, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. I got to cheat because, one, my venture capital firm is amazing. I love them.
That's good.
2, I found on LinkedIn and just word of mouth 3 amazing advisors who are opening a crap ton of doors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We do run a little bit of ads, a little bit of outbound, etc. But I feel like I've got to cheat because I have so many marketing connections because that's what I've done.
Sure, yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong. You don't have a giant network. You don't have a lot of those shortcuts. You don't have an advisor or VC that can make intros. How are you getting those first 10 clients, first 5 clients even?
Yeah, so you are right to notice that Jack and I really started focusing on LinkedIn. For one, I'm going to shout out the University of Michigan because that's been a huge connection. Being able to connect on the University of Michigan. I know we were clouding on that a few minutes ago, but every once in a while that does help. There's the Go Blue Pride, which has been super, super helpful. I have a few informal advisors. I consider you an informal advisor. I don't know if you knew this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I consider you an informal advisor. So I have some people who are definitely great about giving advice and feedback, and they're really great. LinkedIn has been huge for us, though, really posting a lot of content on LinkedIn and focusing on that to build out our networks there has been really, really beneficial. And Jack's great at posting viral content, and that helps a lot to get attention. And that's kind of our biggest source right now, though, of finding people to use the product is through that.
Got it. Do you run ads? Do you do outbound, or is it more like shaking hands, kissing babies sort of a deal, networking, albeit maybe digital on LinkedIn?
Yeah, it's more shaking hands, kissing babies. We do not pay for any ads. Jack is firing up some cold emails. We're about to start doing a little bit more of that. We both have experience with that for different things. So we're going to start focusing on that a little bit more, but largely it's been post content on LinkedIn, see who's engage with them, get inbound or reach out to them and book a meeting that way.
Don't you use us?
Use you. Should we use you?
Yeah, I'll hook you up.
Okay. Great.
For the little bit of traffic that you guys have, you should know who it is.
You're right.
When we're done, I'll hook you up.
Dude, amazing. That's awesome. I can also hook you up with Bird Dog if you want to do any research on anybody.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
There are definitely some key accounts I want to break into.
Yeah.
The problem for us, and I imagine you have the same deal, we can be used by anybody, right? Anybody in sales or marketing would find value. So it's hard to say, like, I want these 10 accounts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I want Fortune 100. That'd be freaking cool. We're not ready yet, but it's hard to pick which accounts, right? So I would say we do more like persona-based selling.
Yeah.
How do you pick your accounts? Are you using, I imagine, your own tool to a certain extent, but like, what's your criteria for saying these are the top 100 or 300 accounts that I want to target when literally any sales leader, B2B sales leader, could use you?
Yeah. So to make it even more confusing for you, I'm going to tell you that one of our clients actually works for a finance company that does syndicates real estate deals with family offices. Another one is an AI consultant, and then, SaaS pretty much after that, to make it super confusing, where you're right, literally anybody can technically use us. One of the cool things, not to self promote here, but one of the cool things about the platform is you can rank the accounts in it, as I mentioned. So we do use our own platform to rank kind of software companies, like high growth B2B SaaS companies. We still have a hunch or intuition that that's not a bad place to focus. So we ask questions like, do they have an L&D budget, and kind of lever that a little bit. So that's useful. And then we also give ourselves email notifications from our platform that tell us, hey, this company's expanding its sales team. So that kind of stuff helps. But as far as who our real ICP is, we're still figuring that out. And it sounds like you might be too, because it's extensible.
Yeah, it's hard, especially with the new analytics and Gen AI stuff that we're building out.
Yeah.
Like, initially, we were a lead gen tool, right? Know who's on your site, target buyers. What's interesting is that sales had to be on board, but because it's a script that goes on your website, it's marketing's budget. So you have to sell to people. Marketing, we thought it was going to be the CMO, but it's really like director level, VP level, etc.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then with our new analytics coming out in like 3 weeks, it's really hard, because then it's like you want to talk to marketing ops and analytics, etc. So we have like 4 or 5 different personas that we have to target, and it's really hard to understand which ones we should go after first.
Yeah.
I totally feel your pain there. We're still trying to figure that out.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's not like we can say, oh, this is the perfect fit right now. We can make assumptions about it, but we got to keep testing it, in all honesty. That's the biggest thing.
So let's put it in the context of me. And again, this is going to be an impromptu pitch from you.
Great. Yeah.
I want to target B2B marketers
Okay.
between 100 and 250,000 in traffic a month,
Okay.
selling high ACV, ideally software, but doesn't have to be a tech company, but selling, something high ACV with a BDR SDR team.
Great.
Do you help identify those, or are you only going to help enrich the ones that I find?
So we're going to help enrich the ones that you can find, but our platform is efficient enough that it's not a bad idea for you to just take 500 companies that raised a series A, B, C, or D in the past. You can get a list of that really easily.
Crunchbase, yeah.
Yeah, Crunchbase. You can just dump a list of those 500 accounts that you have a rough hunch roughly in that area, and then we'll tell you for sure which ones have the BDR team, which ones have those marketing positions, which ones maybe we can tell you more about the goals associated with that funding round. Are they do they have specific sales goals? Do they have specific sales targets? Are they hiring marketers? Maybe even are they hiring digital marketers or anything like that? We can really brainstorm together and find a lot of signals that will tell us which of these leads based on real world information here is actually a great fit for you.
Do you have plans to help identify them in the future?
We do. Yeah. Our technology is really cool in that it's getting lower and lower cost for us to go through and answer these questions on all of those. So at some point, our vision is to be able to ask those questions that you have on 10,000 or 100,000 accounts and really be able to then find those lookalike accounts and find those great accounts in truly the universe of all accounts,
How far out is that if you had to guess?
I had to guess, I would say by the end of the year, we could probably start generating new leads for you.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
If I had cash, I'd buy you out, but, we're still early stage. That's interesting. So what would you tell somebody that is wanting to become a founder? They think they have a new slick idea. And I'll caveat or give a little prelude to that, especially in sales and marketing tech, like every single avenue has been taken. Right? There's a freaking pile of tools for everything that you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you tell somebody when it comes to finding their niche, starting out? Yeah, let's start there.
Man, I think execution is more important than the idea. I'm not going to give like percentage execution versus idea, but I think if you are great at executing and you have a bad idea, you can probably do fine, in all honesty. The idea matters, don't get me wrong, because a great idea makes it right? Exactly. A great idea makes it easier to execute, but if you have a great idea and can't execute, you're not going to get anywhere. So like, how do you just test your things as quickly as possible and make sure somebody actually wants it and really validate your idea? Get somebody to pay you even before it's done and say like, deliver it as a service if you have to. That's what we were doing in early 2024. I was a spreadsheet monkey in early 2024 as we were like really validating this idea and making sure that this is something that people actually care about.
I think now I was in a unique position. Yeah. I actually white labeled my competitors and established that people were interested. And I did it under my RevOps agency, Revenue Institute, called it Traffic Intel. And then I realized, well, I can execute this way better. And then Identity Matrix was born. I think, yes, there's competition everywhere, but look at take the AI SDR space. They're getting funding left and right. It's okay to be second, third, fourth, whatever. Yeah. If you can kick their butt on deliverables or find a niche in the market. So the way I put it is all of my competitors in the de-anonymization space, they target primarily early stage startups. We're going after more mid-market, much higher ACV because we provide way more value, etc. Yeah. I agree with your point. You're kind of going after 6 cents. I think you're eating 6 cents lunch, or at least that's kind of your goal. I want to go after 6 cents in another facet. I want to go after RB2B and find my niche in the middle, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I think people, to your point, look too much for the idea and not the execution.
Yeah.
I'll kill the competition on execution and working hard and whatnot every day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And that's great that you were able to validate it before you even started it. You didn't just say, I'm going to start a company and see what happens. You're like, I have this thing and I know that people want it because I've already sold it to them. And that's huge.
Well, before that, I wasted a bunch of money building crap no one cared about.
Sure.
And then I said, wait, let me pause.
Yeah.
White label competitors for a few months that sucked.
Yeah.
And then thought, okay, I can do it better.
Yeah, as I told you, I was trying to sell software to finance people that they didn't want. So I totally, same thing. But I guess that's the thing you got to learn is like, how do you validate it better without over engineering something that's not necessarily good yet? And it's, yeah.
How do you feel about somebody's necessity for being a coder? And I'll preface that by saying very few devs I know have a good personality. Sorry if that's offensive. You do have a personality, and I realize that you can sell and develop. But if you're like, do you believe in the no-code founder? Do you believe that you need a co-founder in general? Like, what's your thought on mixing sales and dev?
Man, I mean, you are living proof that you don't need a code to be able to do this, right? Like, that says everything it needs to. I would say like being able to both code, when you start building something from an engineering perspective, this is something I've struggled with sales, is you're doing sales and somebody says, they have an excuse for not buying it and it's an objection that you have to overcome. When you're an engineer and you hear that, you're also thinking, oh, I need to fix this now. Like, here are the 1,000,001 ways I can fix this and solve the user's problem. So being able to do both is challenging because when you're selling, you're also trying to engineer at the same time. And it's hard to kind of have both of those things running in your head at the same time without overemphasizing one or the other. So it's really challenging. I think it's super powerful to be able to do both. It's great to be able to hear what a user wants and like seriously quickly estimate in my head whether or not we're going to be able to build it, or if we should build it, have a really good idea of that. That's awesome. But it's totally not a necessity. And there's definitely drawbacks to being able to do both.
I like that I can't code because if I could, I literally wouldn't stop working, would pull more all-nighters because I just want everything done yesterday.
Yeah.
I was lucky. So we're making our lead dev CTO and bringing him from Spain to the US.
Amazing.
But I got so freaking lucky in finding an amazing dev that sold on what we do.
Yeah.
So he's kind of a quasi co-founder.
Yeah.
He didn't invest anything into it, but he's kind of a quasi co-founder. But man, I am so happy I can't do both.
I can see why. I mean, I could just sit there like, oh, I can make it like slightly better. I can fix this one thing. And then it's like a million things,
Yep. No, I gotcha. Noah, first of all, it's getbirddog.ai, right?
Yes, correct.
Getbirddog.ai. Everyone, go check it out.
Yeah.
Schedule a demo. Noah's a friend of mine. I will unashamedly plug him. I know you're going to say LinkedIn, but where is the best place for people to connect with you?
LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to find. Noah Jacobs, Noah Jacobs and Bird Dog, and I'll come up.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Noah. Thanks so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It's been a blast.